Data for the Herman Company are shown below. Fixed expenses are $30,000 per month, and the company is selling 2,000 units per month. The marketing manager argues that a $5,000 increase in the monthly advertising budget would increase monthly sales by $9,000 should the advertising budget be increased. Currently, our operating expenses, we are told, are 70% of sales. Our selling price is $90 per unit, and our variable expenses are $63 per unit. Let's begin by putting together our current operating budget. Currently, sales are $180,000 per month. That's our $90 per unit selling price times 2,000 units. Our variable expenses are $126,000. That's the $63 per unit variable cost times 2,000 units, which means our contribution margin is $54,000, and our contribution margin ratio is 30%, which is our 100% of sales minus our variable expense ratio of 70%, or we can simply take our contribution margin of $54,000 and divide it by our $180,000 in sales. Our net operating income is $24,000, which is our $54,000 contribution margin minus our $30,000 in fixed costs. If we increase our advertising budget by $5,000, we're told that we should be able to increase monthly sales by $9,000. So with the additional advertising, sales will increase from $180,000 to $189,000. Our variable expenses will be $132,300, which is the $189,000 in sales multiplied by our 70% variable expense ratio. This means our contribution margin will increase to $56,700. But since our fixed expenses have increased from $30,000 to $35,000, recall the $5,000 monthly increase in advertising, our contribution margin, our net operating income will actually decrease to $21,700. So it doesn't look like the advertising budget should be increased. An alternative solution would make use of our contribution margin ratio. If we're told sales will increase by $9,000 and we have a contribution margin ratio of 30%, this means the increase in sales will lead to a $2,700 increase in our contribution margin. But since fixed expenses increase by $5,000, this will actually result again in a decrease in our net operating income, and we get the same answer that we should not increase our advertising budget. A second alternative is also being considered by management, in which we would use higher quality components that would increase our variable cost by $2 per unit. So they would increase from $63 to $65. But this we would expect to increase our sales by 10% per month. So sales will increase from 2,000 to 2,200 units. Let's go ahead and pick up our income statement as it's in our current budget. Recall we have net operating income of $24,000 and our contribution margin per unit is $27. Under this new proposal, we don't expect our selling price to change. It will remain at $90, which means our contribution margin per unit will decrease from $27 to $25 since our variable cost increased. We can now calculate our new contribution margin total, which is our 2,200 units multiplied by our contribution margin per unit of $25. Our contribution margin will increase to $55,000. Since there's been no change in our fixed costs, we will see our net operating income increase from $24,000 to $25,000. The alternative of increasing our quality of our components and our variable costs with increasing sales seems like the better plan.